Alrighty. Let's,
Woo! Welcome to another Thursday. We're a little bit later than normal this week. Some technical difficulties from my end. Welcome to another Thursday night session. So much has happened since last Thursday. It seems the last few weeks have been monumental for this market, and obviously some phenomenal profits being made. Certainly, I hope for you as well. A few losses for myself, a few trades that I didn't enter that I'm certainly kicking myself for, but certainly looking at where we are with Bitcoin right now adds definitely an opportunity for if you did miss some runs. I certainly would. I wouldn't be rushing to jump in to buy the fucking dimp, as they say. Potential on BTC, I would be far less. Where would I put it? I would be. I'm more bullish on Bitcoin continuing upwards than what I am on a lot of these alts. So certainly, if you are playing alts, I would wait for some sort of confirmation before buying the dip. Thankfully, I've set some lower positions and bought in before the wick. A lot of them have sort of run down and wicked back up. BTC, more importantly, is really all I'm trading on MEX at the moment. Binance is getting a thrashing for my alts. So, ads, what are we looking at on BTC at the moment? We've hit this supply. We did put some points in place there on Tuesday night where we
yep,
were looking for 9592. Are we
yep.
going to get there?
Look, look. It's a hard one to say at the moment, but I think it might be entirely possible. To be honest, we've come up and hit this supply. I've gotten about halfway through it, to be honest, and coming back down now. I think honestly, after the run that we've had, and after the last probably week or so, it's on the cards, man. It needs some form of relief. It just needs to cool off a little bit, just so we can have some fresh legs to push it up higher. That's what I'm thinking anyway. It needs to pull back. It needs to come back to one of the fib levels, maybe for example, or even now basal conversion line tie.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks, as a lot of guys know, we trade really heavily with Ichi, as we can see there. So ads has got the and for myself, since my chat with Crypto says a few weeks ago, and then Zoran Cole for the Trade Hacker podcast, which will be releasing in a couple of weeks. Two different strategies and two very different ways of looking at the market. Crypto says Joe, he trades with your standard Ichi, and Zoran Cole Crypto Cred and a few other guys trade with your crypto settings, being the
Yeah.
2061, 2030 settings, back testing a number of alts and BTC over the last couple of weeks. Again, it's sort of giving me mixed ideas of where things may be headed. But, certainly looking at one thing that we discussed on Tuesday nights and is sort of a pretty recurring theme on some of our private sessions that we do with our students is the use of fibs.
Yeah.
And some people, when a coin runs upwards, will move their fibs up to the new swing high position and let things continue to run. I myself will find a swing high that seems quite solid and I'll let things continue to sort of run from there. So looking at where we are now for myself at 10.453 was the 2.7 fibs, or the negative minus 27 fibs that I had set from my high at 9.594. So that's a point where I was long from, because as we've sort of said to our students, when we find things getting to a zero fib levels, if we confidently break above that, there's a very high likelihood that we'll get to the next level of fibs. And looking at where we are now, we've got a little bit of a rising wedge pattern happening there. Ads,
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
draw our rising wedge from that wick on the 19th of January, so yeah, run it upwards. So we do have a rising wedge. We've hit supply. We've breached pretty high outside of our Kijin cloud, or our Kumo cloud,
Yeah.
rather. We've got this C clamp divergence between our Tenkan and our Kijin, where things tend to sort of need to be filled when we get such a high divergence from there. So there were a lot of signs that 10.5 was going to be a bit of an exhaustion point for myself. I was looking, or I'm still looking for sort of 10.7. But as we've sort of said in the last little bit, these positions are often getting front run, where the TA will suggest, like, so for the, I guess it does make sense because the 27 fib level is 10.453, and then the 61 is up around 11.5. So I suppose where we are now seems like a logical point to sort of pull back. Unfortunately, I haven't had enough time to sit in front of the screen, so I was long. But the fact that I've been, setting lower buys will bring my average entry price down. So looking at MEX shortly, I'm sure I'm still going to be in profit, but not the profit that I would like.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. You can't always catch it anyway, and like we've said to
Of
the
course
guys,
not.
like we've said
No,
to the
and
guys, yeah,
yeah, and I saw a really good tweet on Twitter today that said missing a trade is as good as not losing, and
yeah,
I thought,
that's
well,
right.
that's a really good way of looking at it. I've
Yeah,
been very fortunate to be long. Well, I've been long multiple times, but pretty heavy in a long since 9.5. So listen, I'm happy to see where things are from here. As far as a pullback goes, I think at this stage, probably short term, I'm probably going to look for maybe as low at this point as maybe 9.7, 9.74, which would be potentially a touch on our conversion line there. Or sorry, on our conversion
yeah,
line before
yeah,
the next move up, because we're making this similar pattern. It's almost like an Elliott wave. We kind of go up, we consolidate, we drop a little bit, we move up, we consolidate a little bit, we move up, we drop, we consolidate, we move up a little bit. So at this stage, again, where we are right now, a healthy pullback is healthy for the upwards market that we're in at the moment, the upwards sort of trend that we're experiencing at the moment. A lot of the majors have pulled back. If we have a look at it, ads as well has pulled back pretty. Oh, actually, not so much. Actually, it's been on an absolute tear for the last little
yeah. It
bit.
has been.
So it's we got that doji there at the moment, so it's showing a little bit of indecision at the moment. But even on the 2-day time frame, and we were looking at this a couple of weeks ago with Zoran Cole when we were trading this on the 2 days. So my target for ETH was 25487, which is the top of the Kumo. Looking at this is using crypto settings,
Oh, okay.
mind you, not the standard setting. So this is where some back testing has shown some really good confluence between the standard and crypto itchy settings. I don't think we have a 2-day, man, on
No, we
the.
don't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, we
So the
don't.
standard itchy will show it, but yeah, 25487 was the target for ETH. But looking at the volume coming into it at the moment, it's pretty phenomenal. But for the run that it's had, I think it certainly needs to pull back to at least sort of 250, even potentially as low as sort of 2465 is maybe where I would potentially see a pullback before the next run up. And then the next target from that is around 29,000 or 2892.
Well, there is some cloud support at 27,990.
Definitely, yeah, 20,
Sorry,
yeah,
cloud
20,
resistance.
28,
Sorry, excuse me.
yeah, 28.
Yeah,
So I'm
28.
looking for sort of between that. I think if we can break above this previous high here at 265, I think that would be an indication enough for me that we might start running up towards that 287, potentially 28
Well,
that
yeah.
mark.
We're just going off the 2 day. If we're looking at the supply and demand zones, we're looking at around the 23,000 sat mark at around our that's going to be our most relevant demand, to be honest, at that hold up or that pause in the market just on the way up. So that might be a healthy pullback, and that'll be the 38.2 and a 50 retrace for ETH, and that'll cool off a lot of these RSI, CCI, and even our steamroller to the point where it could have the legs to run up again to 28,000.
My only thing of looking at that is if we zoom out quite a bit on the 2-day,
Yeah.
we can sort of see where we've had some nice. I really wish I could annotate on your chart,
We
but
should
like
we should do it on Zoom next time. That way you
we
can
might have
annotate.
to do it on Zoom next
Yeah.
time. But yeah, that point around the 24,000, 2492 was a pretty good level there, where I think, if we can, where I thought if we confidently broke above that, we'd probably find a new little trading range here,
Yeah.
which, like I said, sort of led me up to around that 28,807. So
Okay.
it's anyone's guess at this point. After phenomenal runs like this, we always need to see some sort of healthy pullback, but ETH just doesn't seem to be giving it at the moment. And I think it's running on hype more than really anything. And with
Yeah,
the
I agree
volume
with that.
injection, it wouldn't be surprising to me if we were to continue higher from this point. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely facing some resistance at this point. So it's definitely make or break time for ETH.
Absolutely. It's been a good run though. The entire market,
Yeah.
like, it's been absolutely nuts, and we've had a lot of good a lot of good bits and pieces, a lot of good charts thrown around in the Discord. So it's been really strong. Really happy with it.
Yeah, the only issue when you get to this point here is sort of choosing your battles,
Mm.
because there's so many opportunities to be trading, and I'm finding, and I openly admit this, and I have said it to the guys. Sometimes I get a little bit too carried away, even as someone who's been trading for a few years now. I
Oh,
can
bro, you
get
get
a little
carried
bit
away.
too. Yeah, I can get a little bit too carried away, being too deep in too many positions, which thankfully, besides one or two, have played out well. But at the same time, yeah, this is where I kick myself for missing an ETH trade or missing a BTC trade because I'm concentrating on a million other things. And then when life gets in the way, you struggle to be in front of the chart. So
Yeah,
it's this is certainly a good point for a lot of alts to pull back to look for potential positions. I definitely want to have a look at a few of the majors ads like
yeah.
ADA, EOS, and
We'll
XRP.
go to ADA first. We'll zoom back in. Excuse me, to the 1 day. And
Oh, and just sorry, just to go back on that,
that didn't
uh,
play out.
I'm finding myself using the 2 day more and more and more for even larger macro overviews of where the market is. Like that, when I was interviewing Zoran Cole, and this is where I was kicking myself. He did $1 million ETH trade about a year ago. We spoke about that on the podcast, which we'll be releasing in a couple of weeks, like I said. And we found this trade, and we were scanning together. We were just trading. And thankfully, we were still recording. And he's like, "Holy shit, dude!" He's like, "This ETH looks like it's ready to run." And he was
Mm.
using the 2 day itchy setting. So I encourage people who are too focused on the 4 hour or the 12 hour time frame and are struggling for ideas of macro trends, start with the 2 day. And that's
Yeah.
something that I hadn't been doing for a long time until I came across Zoran Cole and saw him doing that. So start from your 2 day, go 2 day, day, 12, 4, 1, whatever you want to do, and try and find confluence amongst those other time frames. And it's been a really profitable strategy for myself, not just focusing on the daily.
Well, one of the guys that was at work today, I was giving him a little bit of a rundown on the basic trading strategy, and that was the basic thing that I had to say was determine your market direction, your market structure on your higher time frame. So determine 2 day, 1 day, like gauge which way the market is actually going in, and then try and negotiate your positions on small time frames like daily, 12 hour, 4, 1, whatever one you want to use.
100%.
And then you've got your bias right then and there, so you can negotiate it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but ADA in any case, there was a couple of targets we had. I did honestly expect it to pull back to the 50 or the 61 after we had that rejection there on the supply, but that hype train or that FOMO train just pushed it a little bit further after the drop we had after the 23. So the next target was around this level here. We had the hold up on the daily, and we've seen that be very, very respected on the 38 extension as well, Ty. So not a bad run on ADA. I think look, honestly, like I said to the guys in Discord today, everything looks like it needs to pull back, but
Yeah.
it's not expected at all, because these just run relentlessly, and they don't stop until the money runs out. So
Yeah. And there's a phenomenal example at demand there when we're talking about moving our fibs up as things go higher. Adam has done the same thing here that I do. I leave my fibs at the previous high and I let things run. And you can see that example. We've tapped or we've gone above the zero
yeah,
at demand there. The next logical target was the 27. We at some point we had wicked higher than that, and the 38.2 was really well respected. And had you have been moving your fibs up as things move, you would have missed that. So
yeah.
that's just a little tip for anybody that likes to use fibs. You can just double click on it and open your settings and just add those additional things: the 27.2, the 38.2, the 61.8,
If you want to take
and
a quick screenshot.
and they give really good results more often than not, and it provides a really healthy target if we confidently break above a certain fib level as to where we're headed next. It's
Yeah.
exactly the same as every other type of fib level, but I find that once it breaks above that zero, the next logical step is often respected there around the 27.2.
You can always use the trend-based fib extension tool as well to get very similar, if not the same results as
Yeah, absolutely.
what we're seeing on this one as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and we've said for a long time as well with ADA, I think it was originally around, I think, I want to say it was around 520 or 540 sats,
Hmm.
where we said that we were in this accumulation cylinder. And you
Yeah.
can't see it on Ads's chart there, but it's essentially like a broadening wedge. Or like an ascending broadening wedge, but not such a huge divergence between the trend lines. So this accumulation cylinder, it almost looks like a reverse
It was like
rising wedge.
it's like that, wasn't it? Something like this, where we had something like that.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's an accumulation cylinder is a theory of Wyckoffers that was based very heavily, actually
Yeah.
more so a theory of Jesse Livermore, who was a very famed trader back in the early days, and that Wyckoff emulated along with his Elliott waves and his Wyckoff principles as well. So this has been very well respected now. Yeah, I think at this point here, I would be expecting a pullback.
Mm.
It's hard to call it because it's been on such a tear. When things are in such bullish momentum like this, it's fantastic to be able to run it. But I think we maybe be selling a pullback to at least sort of 640, maybe 635 before the next sort of
Yeah.
run up. But signaling a little bit of indecision there, and we can see our indicators are due for a pullback, but with the volume coming in and the overall bullish sort of sentiment with ADA, I wouldn't be surprised to continue seeing it running. But I'd really like it to see a break above 27 confidently before we head towards that next 61.8.
Yeah. Look, if you were looking for a pullback and you were looking for a decent level for that, I know I don't like to keep these supply zones in after they've been broken, but you can always look at them for possibly a retest in a bullish market like this. The other alternative is to, I know Ty said he likes to not move his fibs, but you could also redraw your fibs from swing low to high and look for like a 38, 50, 61 retracement before another leg. So on the smaller
Totally.
time frames, it'll play out that way. On the longer time frames, you'll be hanging on. Unfortunately, with these moves, if you're looking at higher time frame stuff like the daily and you're relying on these indicators to give you market direction, it's not going to happen because these indicators are going to be they're going to stay topped out for until the money runs out, until the run's over. So it's always a little bit more beneficial with big tears like this to jump on the 4 hour and then use those indicators a little bit. Look at those indicators a little bit more closely because they're going to give you a better indication on where the bounce is going to be for the next leg. So that's what I've found. So if you zoom into the 4 hour, then we're starting to see the RSI, the CCI start to come back down. All right, so you can confidently use these indicators a little bit more to gauge when our next leg's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome advice, man.
Yeah, because the daily indicators move too slowly, and by the time we've come back, bounced off the 38, for example, if we're bouncing off this demand for another leg up, these indicators are barely moved, so it's not going to give you an accurate indication of when that's going to continue. So that's same as BTC. So if you go back onto BTC, our steamroller indicator, RSI, for example, if you're looking at the daily indicator to give you an idea of when to buy in, if you're looking for the RSI to come back down to the 40, 45 level, even the CCI or even steamroller, then you would have never bought into the move. You would have never caught these entry points or these dips. But if you're coming down onto the 4 hour time frame, all right, and you're paying more attention to these indicators here, all right, or catching that is a little bit easier, if that makes sense. And especially this one here, where we bounced off the 81 or the 82 mark, is going to give you a more realistic indication. Yeah, so.
Excellent advice. All right, I think we'll get to XRP.
XRP BTC.
Oh my goodness! I've just looked at Theta. Anyway, we won't go into that. Don't worry about that.
Well, I'll put these arrows back up. So I think it was Tuesday night or the week before. We did expect XRP to come back and revisit this 4 hour demand zone before heading back up, and that's exactly what we saw. So it was a good little bit of TA there, and our falling wedge played out nicely as well, as that you can see. But we've smashed past this supply. So this supply is actually done and dusted. The one that we're currently looking at right now is this one here. All right, so it's a crap one, but it is respected quite well. So we've got that main body there with some respected candles to the left, and then basically to the SAT wick down on XRP. Honestly, Ty, I want to see this come back and close within or above our supply zone before we can confidently say it's going back to 3,500 sats.
Yeah, definitely on a lot of time frames. It's looking pretty bullish at the moment, and there's definitely starting to be a lot of hype around XRP again. It's interesting how much this coin is bashed, and then when it starts running, everybody starts to love it again. I personally have a love-hate relationship with XRP because it's burnt me so many times. I know you love it because it seems to be like your coin.
Man, it pays me so much. It's great.
It just seems to work so well for you. Yeah. And yeah, again, I'm kind of kicking myself, but again, like I said, I miss traders as good as not losing. Yeah, I was my TA was pretty much bang on that. I got a perfect bounce off 2743 where I had that previous trend done up, and yeah, it's wicked exactly off my 27 fib. So I think at this point, I'm pretty confident in XRP continuing to run from here, but again, I'm not going to go longing any positions until I get a confident break above, or at least into that supply to sort of indicate that she's wasted and we're going to keep moving up.
Well, we've got the same sort of bullish sentiment that we had about a month and a half ago on BTC, where we've got our Kumo twist going bullish. We've got our base and conversion line crossing over, or TK cross, and then we've got the lag line pointing out of that cloud there as well. So look, Ichi's saying on the daily that we could have a decent run on our hands on XRP in the next probably month or so, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah, it almost looks like to me like it's the beginnings of gearing up, very similar to what Ethereum did. Similar structure, even look very, very almost sort of early days BTC run like what you said, very similar structure.
Well, the one thing I wanted to cover as well, just before we move on, is if you're watching in the free section of Discord and you're watching us on YouTube or you're watching on Facebook and you've never used supply or demand before, look, take the time to learn it, because this is the kind of stuff that it really helps with. Like you're looking for market structure, and I know everything is every scenario is going to be different, but it's a godsend to determine whether a market's going to continue or start to fall back. So if you haven't used it and you're in the free section of Discord, come across to the inner circle. It's fairly cheap, and this is the stuff that we look at week in, week out. So
100%, $30 to come and join us for a month isn't too bad.
I don't think so.
This Theta trade is killing me.
Theta. That's Theta for everyone that's looking at it.
I posted the TA today at like 11 o'clock, and I said this is looking very similar to what BAT was before its breakout, very similar to what BNB was before its breakout, and that was at 1374 sats.
1374. That's quite a little while ago now, but with market structure, obviously that's our high, and this is our higher high.
Yeah, we've hit that previous high there.
So we've made a higher high now, and it's just getting up there now. So look, honestly, if this pulls back, we're looking for a lower high and then a big old fat continue up. So that might be the case for Theta, Ty.
Yeah, definitely. It's looking good on the higher time frames. Here, that with a wick like that cannot be sustained. So certainly looking for a pullback, and we've been saying for the last few days Theta was looking pretty good. Again, I wasn't in that trade, but looking left, there's pretty little structure back towards sort of mid last year. So I think certainly we'll close above that previous resistance at some point. Maybe not today, but I definitely think Theta is one to be watching for sure.
If you're not in any of these trades and you're just looking at the market popping left, right, and center, take the time to observe how these moves work, because crypto does move violently in these directions, and it's pretty much the only market in the world that does. So take the time to observe what happens, and watch the FOMO set into a lot of these coins. It's
absolutely.
It's a sight to see, but it's good. It's a fantastic learning experience, even if you're just sitting back and watching, because then you can, next time it happens, you can come and say, look, okay, I've got the knowledge to expect stuff like this.
100%. This is the accumulation of the last 2 and a bit years that we've been mentoring guys inside our inner circle and through UTG and other things that we've done beforehand. And all these quiet times where we were begging people to research and to study and take the time to look at markets and looking at indicators like Ichimoku or our steamroller indicators and developing all these things behind the scenes that we give out for free to our members is now starting to pay dividends. We saw Art, shout out to you. Art just did 20% on that BTC dip. We've had guys like Matt and Shilgi and Bilal and JB making killer profits, not only in crypto, but in some of the Forex channels that we have as well. So now is the time where these last couple of years of heavy bear market stuff is starting to pay off because we're really starting to reap the benefits of that. So yeah, certainly don't let it get you down if you miss the trade. Knuckle down, spend some time. And like I said today, on that Facebook post, there's going to be a lot of stupid rich people by the end of 2020. It's now up to you to decide whether you're going to be one of those people.
Absolutely, and yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next Thursday, of course. Please like, share, and comment on this for anyone that you think needs to see. You can join us over at unitytradinggroup.com. And like we said, we have our inner circle for $30 a month. That's like 6 coffees. So come and join us. If you don't like it, we'll give you a refund in the first month. We guarantee you'll absolutely love the content that we have. So much stuff gets produced on a weekly basis, a daily basis. You'll certainly get your money's worth. Why we don't charge more for that, I don't know. But looking forward to seeing you next Thursday. And thank you so much for joining us and have a great night.
If you're not part of the Discord already, please join the Discord. We're still active in the free section as well. So if you have any questions after seeing us tonight, we'll be happy to answer them. Catch you later.
See you then. Bye-bye.